Hold the first boundaries that you ever set for yourself. Keep it close because it might save your life one day. Hi, welcome to the Book Corner with me, Mish Atagana. Let's discover new worlds together. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Book Corner. I am Mish Atagana. Today, I'm about to talk about two books by an author that I'm kind of a bit obsessed with. I think I started reading her work earlier this year, or no, actually mid this year. I picked up the first copy or a book by her, and I read it, and I just love it. I'm talking about Kingfisher. There's a lot of authors that I'm obsessed with. I think, V. Schwab being one of them, Olivia Blake, T.J. Klune. Like, I love these authors. But I think when I first started reading T. Kingfisher's work, the first book of hers ever that I read, is one of the books I'm going to talk about today, which is Nettle Bone. I remember thinking to myself, what is this woman? Like, her writing, she writes fairy tales. So it's very much like gritty stuff, but it's fairy tales with teeth, She digs into it, like the houses they're alive, they creak. You can feel the house watching you in her stories. The jokes, they arrive with you sipping water and almost fearing for your life. The way like they make you tired physically, just in how she writes. And you also look at the villains are so familiar. They feel like they could be you. Like, you could be the villain of the story. And she also like makes her victories so practical. It's never about the outlandish win or necessarily the giant, huge battles, but it's very practical victories that make sense for the audience. So that's one of the things I actually really love about the way she writes. So our first book is Nettle Bone. So these are the two books that I'll be talking. There's a lot of books by T. Kingfisher. I have not read all of it, and I'm making my way through the world of T. Kingfisher. But today we're going to talk about Nettle Bone and A Sorceress Comes to Call. I convinced my book club, well, at least I think one person in my book club read A Sorceress Comes to Call, and she was just like, oh my gosh, this woman's so annoying. But yeah, I'm going to talk about these two books. But what I'm going to do is, because of the way Kingfisher writes, I want to actually give you guys just a full understanding of the plot for these books, right? Like with Nettle Bone, for instance, it's so steep in this idea of like dark fairy tales and these airy worlds. So the story is set in the small kingdom. It's called Harbor Kingdom, or sometimes called Harbor, which is tucked between two larger powers of the North and the South kingdoms. We have Princess Marra, is the youngest of three sisters in in like this minor royal house. Her older sisters, Damia and Kina. There's like a lot of political issues that are going on. So political alliances through marriage are being done. Marriage is so central to the story of Nettle Bone. Damian is married to a prince from the Northern Kingdom, but dies shortly after. And then Kanya is married to then marries the same prince. Literally, it's like, okay, this prince died. The first sister got married to this prince, then died. Then the second sister gets married to this prince, and Marra literally spends her life kind of cloistered in this convent. She gets sent to this convent. She partly because her mother and the kingdom consider her the backup plan in case the second sister also dies from being married to this prince. I feel like when we have to create a backup for marriage for someone, maybe we shouldn't be marrying people to that person. Like, the first person dies and you go, coincidence, accident, bad luck, sure. But when you're expecting the second bride to die, I feel there's something fishy, and maybe we shouldn't plan a third person to get married to this person that people tend to die by. I don't know. That's just me. But anyway, her family's kind of keeping her. as a backup for this in this kind of dynastic scheme in case her sister dies. And she might get married off to this prince that is apparently deathly. She prefers the convent life. She likes her quiet life. She loves weaving. She loves like helping the midwives give birth. It's like her thing. She's happy where she is at life. She doesn't need anything. She doesn't need to be brave. She doesn't need to be a hero. She needs to live life in the convent and not be involved, right? And then her sister gives birth to a daughter. But of course, they want a son because patriarchy, boo. But then the daughter actually dies. So Marra goes to visit for the funeral and learns that her sister's been abused by the prince. Surprise, surprise. I mean, there's a backup third marriage in case someone dies and you don't think the prince is doing something shady. So her sister's been abused by the prince, both physically and sexually. So there is some strong content in terms of that for this book. So sensitive readers, please be aware. And if she doesn't like produce a male heir, there is a good chance she will die. They will kill her, essentially. That's kind of the undertone. And Marra realizes that the marriage to the Vorlings is not a happy alliance, not for either kingdom, or at least not for her family. This is pretty much just a trap that has been set in place for her sister. So for someone who doesn't want to be a hero, for someone who just wants to live a quiet life, this young lady legit starts a quest because she wants to be a better sister. And I think there's something so interesting and so beautiful about that. As someone with 3 sisters, I can understand that almost feral need to protect your sisters. I remember when I think I was like 7 or 8, if I remember correctly. My big sister had been playing hockey and I'd come home. I think I'd come home from like a play date or something. I'd gone, like, it was like a visit with some friends. I think I went with my mom to someone's house and I came home and my big sister was on the couch and her arm was propped up on a pillow and she had like bandages on. And I was like, what happened? And they'd said to me that she was playing hockey and she'd explained she was playing hockey or something. She was something with the neighbor's kid and he had pushed her too hard and she cut herself on something. She still has the scar to this day on her arm. I lost my shit. It was, to be honest, I didn't think I was capable of such rage, but I went to that house. I literally chased that kid around because I wanted revenge for my sister. So I can understand this feral need to protect a sister. These days, I don't go into a dark rage and chase people just because they hurt my sister. I do still have a strong talking to someone though, but I don't get violent, mostly because I don't want to be beat up. But yeah, but anyway, I can understand this feral need to protect the sister. So she decides to leave the convent that she's been staying in because she wants to go protect. She wants to rescue and protect her sister, and also while also protecting the kingdom because she feels the fate of the kingdom is at stake here, right? So she goes to find a dust wife. So I love, like, guys, when I tell you reading this book, it's like everything feels so dark and eerie and gloomy, and it's like fog everywhere, and like things are going spooky in the night. I absolutely love it. So a dust wife is a grave witch. Essentially, they work with the dead, and she went to go ask for help from a dust wife. So the dust wife gives her 3 impossible tasks. She has to do this 3 impossible tasks in order to earn the witch's aid. And the witch's aid is really like it's so interesting. And this is also, by the way, I know I said this is all dark and twisty and gloomy and intense, but it's also hella funny because the way her and the dust wife, the kind of conversations they have, it's actually hilarious. So one, she has to weave a cloak from nettles, or like, so nettles are like owl cloth. So essentially, she's got to weave a cloak from nettles. She's got to build a dog from bones. Again, the title Nettle and Bones. She's got to build a dog from bones and wire, and then she's got to capture moonlight in a jar of clay. So these are three impossible tasks that she is supposed to go achieve in order to actually get the aid of this dust wife to go protect her sister. Interestingly enough, she completes the first two with difficulty and physical cost, but she did it. Like, I think when she was building I remember the scene where she's building the dog. Like, she gets so many cuts. So she does these two tasks. She weaves the cloak from nettles. She builds a dog from like bones and wire. And by the way, this dog is alive that she built. Um, and then the dust wife agrees to assist her because she manages to capture moonlight in a clay jar by accident, essentially. And the task that she wants this dust wife to help her achieve is how to kill a prince of the most powerful kingdom that is protected by some fearsome magic. Like da-dum, essentially. Like I quite like the way that this journey kind of takes place, because she also gathers like all these a motley crew with her that comes with her in search of to accomplish this task. So first we've got the dust wife, who's like her power is gonna help us speak to the dead, and we're gonna kill this prince. Then she kind of gets like a fairy godmother figure, in the form of Agnes, who kind of is more competent at curses than at like blessing people. And Agnes also happens to technically be related to them, so she's like their fairy godmother, and she can bestow on them like one protection. But she's really good at like cursing people for some reason, right? And then we then also have like a disgraced ex-knight that's part of this crew of people. His name is Fenris. And it's like he's rescued from a goblin market, which you can only enter at certain point. And if you get trapped in the market, you're like trapped. And then there's like our animal companion. So there's like the bone dog, which we call bone dog in the entirety of this book, and a demon possessed chicken. Like this chicken is possessed by demon. Guys, when I tell you this book is bonkers, but it's also so damn serious, but it's so bonkers. So this is our cast of characters that are going, like led by a princess who has lived a sheltered life in a convent her whole life and doesn't actually understand the realities of her own kingdom. And they are going to go to the most fiercest kingdom with the most intense army, protected by an insane magic, by a fairy godmother that will not die. And that is why this family is constantly protected. And they want to go murder a freaking insane prince who is cuckoo, like absolutely crazy in the head, who will kill his own bride just because he's annoyed. So imagine this is what we're about to do. So I love that. I love the way this writing is done. Like, because these are very high stakes. If they get caught, they're all dead. There's no coming, they're all dead, right? And it's such high stakes, but we have like a determined character. We have how she's able to convince these people to her cause. A sister that she barely gets along with. Like her and her sister barely get along. They do not have a great relationship. But because of the fact that she cannot stand that her sister could lose her life to this prince. And also, if that happens, she could also possibly be the one to have to kind of go get married to this prince. She's willing to risk everything to go protect and save her sister. And who's also not pregnant again. So her also unborn, like, niece or nephew is also here. So I love that. So we really follow them. There's a bit of a road trip element to the story because we watch them journey through the kingdom to get where they're going. I love the conflicts that we find here. Like we learn about like when we learn about the fact that the Vorlin family has like this godmother that's bound by a long dead king's curse, and there's so many curses in the story. So she's bound by a curse, and that curse means she can never die. And if she can never die, the family's always protected by her blessings, which is it's a zero-sum game for our heroines, right? Because there's no way they survive, and there's no way they survive. There's no way they actually take out who they're meant to take out. And so it's like, and her life itself, like her, she's tied herself to the power of the royal house, this fairy godmother, and like I think that the group always they feel like they have one way to defeat this family, and it is literally the most dangerous route, and it is also the one with the like zero chance of survival. So um Marra kind of convinces her company to travel to the royal realm of the Northern Kingdom. She kind of finds out that her sister gives birth to a healthy son. So yay, there's a male heir. So maybe her life may not be forfeit, she thinks, but actually, no, this elevates the stake a little bit because a male heir secures the dynasty. And so the baby and her sister are now further targets for even, the enemies of that kingdom right now. So what they decide to do is like at the christening of this baby ceremony, right? Rather than the actual godmother, that usually comes to bless the children of this family, which is this godmother that's like tied by this long dead king. Agnes, our bumbling, can only do curses godmother, who is not really that competent at like the actual blessing part, and has cursed like a lot of rats and a lot of chickens, because she doesn't like to curse people because she's actually a sweet old lady. She doesn't want to curse people for real, so she's been cursing animals. So like there's a rat she cursed that kind of has like immortality now. It's like it's very strange. So she comes in posing as the godmother, and then she curses the child, which is also technically like her nephew once or twice removed, if I remember correctly. So her curse that, or at least the curse that Agnes kind of comes through with, is tied to how they defeat this king. So Agnes at the christening appears, she curses the baby, and the curse is for the child to grow up fatherless. And this is where the part goes, the story kind of goes completely bonkers because everybody hears this curse or this quote unquote blessing, they lose their shit. Agnes, who had like kind of glamored herself, like her glamour begins to fade and she's like running through this banquet hall, like trying to escape. And then the ex-knight comes in and tries to kill the prince. It's like a whole drama. Like the people are freaking out about the baby and this curse. We've got Marra trying to protect her sister. I think the demon chicken is somewhere in here. There's also like another group had been fighting in the freaking like crypt of this castle, trying to defeat the long dead king, who the long dead king is not that long dead anymore because his spirit comes. But I tell you, a book is completely crazy bonkers when you read it and you're sitting there half the time going, these guys are idiots. Like they're idiots. They're gonna get themselves killed. And then you go, holy cow, that was brilliant. How are we doing this? This was my feeling the whole time I read Nettle Bone. It was so good. I think I started reading it. It was a weekend, I think I started reading it. I like literally made some tea. I opened this book, I started reading. And I remember looking up and it was dark outside. And I was like, where did the time go? That's how good this book is. It's so funny. It's so encapsulating. The characters are super duper insane. I don't even know if like I don't know if I've read any other book that has been this like chaotic. It is chaos from beginning to end. Everyone is unhinged. Every single person is unhinged. Like you've literally got this dust strife going with her demonic chicken, like trying to figure out a way to kill an unkillable person. You've got fairy godmothers conspiring to their own deaths. You've got a bone dog that is legit, trying to protect its creator with his life. I'm like, dude, you're a dead dog. You're literally a dead dog. You've got siblings who are trying to find their way back to each other, but not also understanding their own relationship. You've got an ex-knight who is not sure, like, kind of going through a story of redemption happening in one place. You've got a chaotic nation that is at the behest of one kingdom because of some like insane blood magic. It is wild. Nettle and Bones is wild, and it is brilliant for it. Like T Kingfisher, you can have all my money. Seriously, take all my pin codes because this writing is incredible. So after I read this book, I was just like, I need to get involved with this woman some more. So I picked up a bunch of other books of hers that I really liked. I think to date I've read maybe like five or four of her, but 5 or 6 books by her. But the one that I felt was kind of also a little closer to Nettle and Bone, and that's why I'm reviewing it together as opposed to like all. If I did all of the T Kingfisher books I've read, that will be the whole season of the podcast. So I decided to do like 2 of my favorite books of her. So the second book that also kind of got me thinking like, what is this one? A Sorceress Comes to call. I also kind of felt this, that super airy fairy tale vibe thing comes here. So this one, it is a 14-year-old girl, Cordelia. She lives with her mother, Evangeline, in a strange house. Like there are no doors between the rooms. There's enforced silence. No friends are allowed. Cordelia's one solace is this horse that is like her mother's white horse, and she loves going riding with the horse. So she talks to the horse. She tells the horse her feelings. This is the one place she can kind of feel free, feel herself, her moment to breathe, right? But haha, there's a twist for sure. So Evangeline is in fact she's a sorceress, and she puts a spell of obedience on her child. So it's like it's literally she makes her obedient, which means she has complete control of Cordelia's body. How she forces her to act. So Cordelia, because of this, she's isolated and she's terrified all the time. So when she's under the obedience spell, she cannot do anything. She can't eat unless she's given permission to. She can't go to the bathroom unless she's given permission to go to the bathroom. And she just can't do anything. So after like a suspicious death in their town, Evangeline kind of abruptly leaves for the night and leaves Cordelia with the horse. So now she gets the chance to just be home, nothing happened. And then she learns that the horse is actually not really a horse, but her mother's spy. So there's that. So everything she says to the horse, all the feelings, the frustration she voices, the horse knows. So they decide to travel to like this wealthy man's estate. His name is Samuel. But we call him the squire in the story. So he's mostly referred to as squire, and his sister, Hester. And the hope here, Evangeline wants to marry this man. So essentially, she wants to marry into the super rich family. She's done something shady in their town before, and she doesn't want suspicions to turn to her. So she wants to marry like a respectable gentleman. And we like, cool, sure. Let's see how this unfolds. What could possibly go wrong? I think one of the things I liked, especially the way in which T. Kingfisher builds like tension here, for instance, is when they're at the Chatham Estate, which is the estate of the squire, Esther, the sister, that is like from very early on, she knows something is off. She can tell like this mother daughter duo is too like there's suspicion. She's suspicious. She doesn't trust what's going on, and she can tell by the way things happen, like the way she sees Cordelia flinch and shrink away, like she acts so unnaturally still at dinner. The way like she's like suspecting her brother's being manipulated, and soon even Cordelia begins to realize that like more fully that things are not normal. She like realizes like the things like how she knows about the horse, and the fact that the horse is actually her mother's familiar, and she also see like the darker implications of her mother's power, and like the goal is actually to like what she knows her mother's plan is to marry this man, but he will not survive it, and I love that there's like all these this is really centered around these women and trying to like see how they can all outsmart the sorceress. So Esther like invites her friend to the house and acquaintances just to distract and intervene. And she senses that, maybe if she puts someone beautiful in front of her brother, it will distract him from this thing. And then a murder occurs. And, like we find somebody standing over the body of a maid. And then the next thing you know, that person like kills themselves. And it's like this orchestrated thing. And eventually Cordelia is so scared, she talks to Hester about the fact that her mother's a sorceress and the fact that she's under an obedience spell. And Esther, and like this other character, this friend of hers, Richard, they begin to plot to protect the squire as well and find a way to free Cordelia, which is so interesting. Like all this is happening, and eventually Cordelia confides in Esther about her mother's sorcery and the abuse she's enduring. So Esther and her friend Richard, they begin to plot to free Cordelia and protect the squire. And I'm just like, people are conspiring to stop a sorceress that has a magic horse that can also turn into like a demon spawn at the freaking, drop of a hat. But sure, whatever. We can do this. Again, Kingfisher, these characters that have these impossible, bold plans that seems completely unachievable. I also really kind of looked at the fact that they really research. Like they don't just wake up. So unlike say in Nettle and Bone, where Marra was just like, I'm gonna go find a dust wife and they're gonna help me kill the prince. And then the dust wife's like, yeah, sure, if you can do this thing, I can do that. Which impossibly she achieved, because these are impossible tasks. Here, the conspirators, they plot proper. They do research. They find out a way how to remove a sorcerer's power. They find a way to kill the horse and render the horse unbound to this character. They do so many things, and eventually their plot fails naturally, but the plot fails in ways that are so predictable of amateurs trying to play in an expert field of magic where they don't know anything about. But I also love that in the end, the confrontation that really matters is how eventually Cordelia has to find a way to break free. How she has to allow herself to watch for the moment where her mother's magic slips so that she's able to break free and protect her friends and these people that are working to care for her and to free her from her mother's grip. So I really, really like that. And in the end, it's like, being able to figure out is your own power strong enough to help you fight the demons within as well as the ones without. And I really, really quite enjoy that. Like some of that, I think that so this is like I think I read somewhere that this was a dark retelling of the Goose fairy tale. So but it's like a more of an inspiration and a strict retelling. And I get this idea of coercive control. So again, Kingfisher books, I love them. I think they're incredible books. They're so well written. They're brilliant. But I will give you that there are some sensitivity issues. There's like this so when a sorcerer comes to call, there's heavy themes of coercion. So sensitive readers, please be aware of that. Like abuse of power, female power in a predatory form, isolation, the process of escape, like all these themes are super strong. So please be aware. And there's like a lot of like it can be the novel really balances like horror, fantasy, and some black humor in it. Like it's very typical. Like there's moments where you're reading it and it's genuinely funny. It's literally funny. There's a part of the book where Cordelia starts hearing voices and she's just convinced she's gone crazy. But the voice in itself, it's so satirical in the way that they talk. And eventually it's like it takes Cordelia a minute to clock, like, oh, it's this person talking to me. Right. So that's also quite interesting. And then I love like the dual narration that we get. So we kind of have like our Cordelia point of view, which is like our young victim. And then you have the Hester character POV, who's like our spinster, like old lady with a bad knee. And these two women, like, they offer such strong POVs for the story, but also it's that thing where the scared 14-year-old who is learning the language of bravery and what it means to be brave, if you can be brave, to this kind of grown, strong woman who has understood the cruelties of the world and has walked them with grace, but is also learning that you can be scared in new ways and you can also find new ways to be brave. So I really, really love those. I am obsessed with T. Kingfisher, as I said at the beginning of this episode. I am reading so much more of her stuff. I'm currently also reading Hemlock and Silver. I can't wait to finish Hemlock and Silver because, oh my gosh, again, amazing. I can't wait to finish that. I'm about I think I'm like 40% of the way into that book. If you've read any T. Kingfisher, please let me know. What are your favorite T. Kingfisher books? Recommend T. Kingfisher books to me, please, please, please. So yeah. Talk to me on social media, Globemish on TikTok and Instagram, and I hope to see you on the next episode. And we out.